listen, Karen, until we there are a couple things that I feel like that we have got to do. We've got to get a national registry of bad actors who are in law enforcement, so that these folks can't just get rehired. I feel like it should be on every sort of Black agenda, political agenda, whether that is whether that's local or that's national or state, whatever it takes to get it leveled up to the ears and the platforms that it needs to get on. There's gotta have to be a registry of bad actors for law enforcement officers. And
so there isn't one right now, right? There is not one. So Daniel Pantaleo's not on the registry, the one that killed Eric Garner.
Right.
This guy, Derek Chauvin, he's not on a registry. The guy that killed Tamir Rice is not on a registry, right? Who was Darren, the one that killed Mike Brown? He's not on a registry. What's her name? Betty Shelby. She's not on a. So there's a tech business. We've had Randall Pinkett on. We're about to have another person on in the next couple of weeks to talk about contract tracing and all of these other. There should be a contract tracing tech company that follows where these police land. Now, it's going to require something because, unfortunately, you need the cooperation, right? Yeah. But these names should be somewhere. And when they pop up in other places, there should be a ping, like we do with sex offenders.
Like we do with sex offenders, Karen, like we do with people who write bad checks. There's a system, there's a cooperative system nationally for people who commit check fraud, write bad checks, who default on their checking accounts, right? And all of the banks cooperate. They supply the information and the names to the central hub. They work with their competitors to ensure the integrity for the whole industry. And so if you can get competitive financial institutions from the biggest in the nation to the smallest in the country, right? Main Street local bank, and they all contribute to this big repository of people who write bad checks. You cannot make me believe that we cannot get a centralized repository for people who are bad actors, who are not worthy to serve, right? Who are not worthy to protect and serve. And there's got to be a clarion call for it. We have to demand it. There are tons of organizations that I feel like we should be engaging and saying, hey, we want you to put this on your agenda. Add it to all of the other things that we're asking for. If you need to get one of the Black advertising agencies to create a hashtag for it and to start talking about how do we get this to go viral, what day are we all going to post it? What day are we going to all call our congressional leaders and ask them for it? What day are we going to all call the Association of Black Police Officers and say who's going to send them the letter to it? If not, every single president of every single Black college and university should write a letter to ask for it. Every single president or of every Black professional organization should write a letter asking for it. Every single president of a Black Greek letter organization should write a letter and say, NAACP, National Urban League, Congress leader X, Y, and Z, we want a national registry, a national database of bad actors in law enforcement, people who are not fit to protect and serve. We want the registry. Our lives depend on it.
Yes. And listen,
orchestration,
the unions will stand in the way because unions protect bad actors, whether we're talking teachers unions, I said it, or police unions. That's their job because they need the numbers. It's time to start shaming them. Why do you want bad cops among your ranks? Why do you want a bad cop? They besmirch the good cops. We got to start the narrative. I mentioned the unions because I think they have protected too often people. And I know there's a reason to have unions, but as it relates to Black bodies, unions have very rarely been our friend on any level. I'm just going to say it because for the most part, unions didn't even include us in the workplace. So that they're good unions now that are protecting people, that's good. But if you protect folks that are killing people and you're protecting people that are brutalizing people, you have to really check your charter and see if you're serving the greater good. Yeah. Bad Cop Registry, I'm about to tweet out. We need one.
We
now.
need one. Here's the other thing too is have those organizations create a social media toolkit for every person who wants to add that to their Twitter, every person who wants to add the bad Cop Registry GIF and they want to tweet it out. Give them all the tools that they need and the hashtag to do it, so we can start to have a conversation about it. I also feel like that we as individual citizens in cities and across the country, we need to ask every person who's running for city council and every person who's running for mayor that we have whatever percentage of African Americans are in that city, that we have that percentage of African Americans on a civilian review board, a board of folks who make recommendations on whether or not people who have committed acts of violence under a badge should be fired or let go. There's civilian review boards where people look at instances of excessive force by law enforcement, whether those people are active cops or those people are guards in a penal institution. Excessive force. There needs to be a civilian review board in every city so that civilians can review these cases that come before, that it doesn't get hidden under the guise of the police will handle it, the mayor's office will handle it, the city council will handle it. Citizens, right. Civilians need to know that these folks are out there and what some of these infractions are. If we had more civilian review boards, there would be fewer instances of law enforcement using things like no knock, right? And so you have all of these sort of a judge has to give permission for a no knock order, right? In these instances, so many times excessive force is used. People die in those. If your city doesn't have a civilian, one, you should know whether or not your city has a civilian review board. Two, if your city does not have a civilian review board, that needs to be on the agenda of what you ask for city council and the mayor's office for every election that's coming up. If your city has a civilian review board, you need to know the black folks who are on it. Are there any black people on it? Who are they, and how do you get in contact with them so that you can say, how are you advocating for me, right? Because they're oftentimes plum positions that are given to people who are in the sphere, right? You need to have some representation for your community and your neighborhood on that civilian review board. And you need to know when those terms and those seats are turning around. And you need to know who else is on there. You need to know the names of the black folks who are on there and the names of the white folks who are on there. How are you holding them accountable for saying yes or no, this is excessive force? And when the civilian review board makes its recommendations to the mayor's office or makes its recommendations to the city council, because it's different in different cities, you need to know what those recommendations are. What did they find? Oftentimes, it's part of public record, but we never go and look at it. Right. And if the newspaper in your hometown or in your city is not covering it, call every black journalist, call the people who have the criminal beat, call the people who have the crime beat, and ask them, what is the civilian review board saying about all of these instances of excessive force? Find out.
866-801-8255. If your local urban league isn't doing it, start a neighborhood watch. Start a block association, because we had one, and that's where a lot of these things get sussed out. We live somewhere. Everyone, we all live somewhere. Let's start taking control over where we live.